Coming up on AgweekTV, farmers are dealing with the benefits and the challenges of climate change.
We'll have a farm bill update from the International Sugarbeet Institute.
North Dakota soybean growers are giving back to their local first responders.
And we'll cover the always important topic of farm succession planning. Welcome to AgweekTV. I'm Emily Beal. March 21st is National Ag Day. This year's theme is agriculture, growing a climate for our future. The topic of climate change is also this month's Ag Week special report. Climate change is bringing benefits, but also concerns for ag. In this week's cover story, we look at how it's affecting planting and the growing season. While variable weather has always affected farmers, recent patterns are causing more damage and more expensive losses. Whether it's severe drought, devastating derecho winds, or excess water, a change in the weather can quickly impact farmers. One benefit is that warming temperatures mean growing seasons are getting longer, with the possibility of higher yields. But South Dakota State climatologist Laura Edwards cautions that the weather is very inconsistent, and she further warns that warmer weather could lead to an increase in pests and diseases.
With the warmer winters, could see more overwintering of pests and those kinds of things if we don't get as cold as often as we used to, and increased potential of other, diseases and pathogens and insects to various pests in the summer season too, because of the warmer, wetter climate that we're seeing in general.
A new federal program would pay farmers to voluntarily implement climate-smart practices that would benefit the public. It's called RIPE 100. That stands for Rural Investment to Protect Our Environment. It has supports on both sides of the aisle. Ultimately, they want it to be a part of the Farm Bill. Martin Barbary is a consultant on the program. He has a long history in ag policy. He says the principle behind RIPE 100 is that a practice that's implemented to improve the soil, water, or wildlife should show $100 an acre in public benefits. Producers would get payments to cover the costs. Growers can even be paid for programs they're already doing.
We're advancing a voluntary stewardship program within USDA to provide producers an incentive to voluntarily do environmentally positive practices that will increase the sustainability on their farm, while at the same time providing a benefit to the public of air quality, water conservation.
You can read more in the next Ag Week magazine or at agweek.com. Farmers and ranchers who own Case IH and New Holland equipment will now have the right to repair their own equipment. The American Farm Bureau Federations and CNH brands signed a Memorandum of Understanding. The agreement will allow farmers and independent repair facilities in all 50 states and Puerto Rico access to tools, brand manuals, product guides, and information to self-diagnose and self-repair machines. The memorandum follows a similar agreement between John Deere and AFBF that was made earlier this year. Farm succession planning was a big topic at the recent Ag Week Farm Show in Rochester, Minnesota. Planning ahead can save you from future headaches, confusion, and stress when the time comes.
Our primary focus is working with farm families who want to transition their farm from one generation to the next.
Myron Friesen is the owner of Farm Financial Strategies based in Iowa. His business does estate planning exclusively for farm families across the Midwest. He says there are usually two issues his clients deal with.
Are there going to be any tax issues? And the second is, how do we do this equitably to our children and accomplish our goals of maybe keeping the farm in the family or being fair to everyone or whatever their individual goals are.
On the tax side, there's a difference between federal estate tax and state estate tax that property owners looking to transition the land need to be aware of.
On the federal estate tax side of things, currently we have a federal estate tax limit of $12.92 million per person, or almost $26 million per couple. Generally, that covers the vast majority of the farm families out there.
However, it is important to keep state taxes in mind as well when planning an estate.
States like Minnesota or Illinois, they might have a state estate tax, and then we have to address those issues because a lot of those limits are lower than the federal limit.
But a lot of it is really looking at how can we get this farm to the next generation in a way that is most efficient and protecting us against unnecessary taxes.
Jason Wagner of Wagner Ayler is an attorney and helps farmers with estate and succession planning. He warns that estate planning is something that can't be done in reverse.
By definition, if we don't have it in place when we need it, it's too late. So, we have to remember that we're taking it from something that could potentially be a disaster to something that we can live with. And if we do nothing, by definition, everything's going to be divided up into equal shares. And if you've got a farm successor, that could be a disaster for them.
Wagner says almost all attorneys will be able to answer any succession planning questions you may have. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar traveled to southeast Minnesota to gather input on the new farm bill. The Dodge County Farmers Union hosted a listening session in Mantorville. Some growers expressed concerns about the effects of corporate farming on family farms and strengthening antitrust laws to prevent some of the corporate mergers, especially in the meatpacking industry. Senator Klobuchar says areas she's pushing for are the crop insurance safety net and the dairy margin program.
The dairy programs, we know it's been working better, but we know there's things we can do to improve it. We know that there's things with the cost of land and how we're going to make sure that CRP and CSP and these programs work and continue to work. And they actually give me arguments I can make to my colleagues who aren't in big ag areas, like, hey, if you want all this conservation and you want wind and solar, then we got to make sure we're funding the land for this to help our farmers.
The need for expanding rural broadband and more housing and childcare were also big topics at the listening session. Up next on AgWeek TV, our livestock tour continues with a visit to a family operating in 3 states.
Getting down to business on the farm means hitting the office early, making sure your team's ready to go, getting updates from the field, and talking with your management team. At Brimmer Bank, we understand the business of farming and how to protect and grow your operation, so you can be sure your present and your future are in good hands.
Dig, lay, and bury drain tile all in one pass with the Crary Tile Pro Plow. The Crary Tile Pro Plow lays tile up to 7 feet deep with boot sizes of 4 to 12 inches. Advantages of installing drain tile to your field provides increased overall yield, improved soil moisture levels, and controls soil erosion. It pays to tile with a Crary Tile Pro. To locate a dealer near you, visit www.crarytilepro.com.
If you need storage at your location, call Mike at Storage Pros today. We sell and rent 20, 40, and 45-foot new and used shipping containers. Choose from our huge inventory of in-stock shipping containers at one of our 3 locations. All of our units are wind and watertight and mouse-proof. We deliver with roll-off trailers to your site. We'll have your container to you and ready to use in 2 to 3 days. Call Mike at Storage Pros today, 701-360-1411.
Is your crop insurance working for you? Are you using your crop insurance to help market your production? There have been a lot of improvements to crop insurance to help maximize guarantees. To see what crop insurance can really do for you, call the professionals at Martinson Ag. Each of our insurance specialists have over 25 years of individual experience in the crop insurance industry, both on the company level and the producer level. Martinson Ag, they know risk management.
Since the inception of Vatterstadt, the spirit of innovation has led the company. We push the limits, providing innovative and reliable seeding and tillage solutions that simplify everyday life for farmers. We continue to reimagine the capabilities and technology behind farm machinery, providing customers with a perfect emergence while maximizing their yields. We look forward to growing together.
The AgWeek Livestock Tour is sponsored by Farmers Mutual of Nebraska, 701X Autonomous Rancher, and Stockman's Livestock Exchange.
This week, the AgWeek Livestock Tour makes a stop at Schaefer Farms near Goodhue, Minnesota. Jeff Beach found that when they wanted to expand their operation, it wasn't so much about adding more livestock or acres, but about expanding services and adding value to the industry through breeding stock.
Schaefer Farms was established in 1886. I am the 7th generation along with my brother.
Schaefer Farms has hog operations in southeast Minnesota and Wisconsin, as well as 300 cow-calf pairs of beef cattle in Minnesota.
Truly what we do is looking at value added. So we raise genetics and multiplying genetics on both our cattle side as well as for our hogs and pigs.
The term value added can mean many things at Schaefer Farms.
Whether it's genetic multiplication for our hogs, whether it's producing genetics through bulls and heifers and bred cows on our cattle side, we seek to be able to serve the industry so that way they can more effectively and efficiently produce their commodity product for the consumer.
They also are using a location in North Dakota where they were hired to provide a replacement herd of pigs for a Minnesota farmer. The North Dakota site was chosen for health safety reasons.
Pigs are susceptible to disease. Biosecurity is very important, and what's more biosecure than a location that doesn't have a lot of pigs?
Schaefer Farms also has a high biosecurity transportation company for pigs. Hokinson's brother Max, her parents Brandon and Monica, and even her grandparents are active in the operation. She says she feels a lot of pressure being the 7th generation and wants to make sure the business is still there for her children and generations to come.
No matter you have 5 pigs, 500, 5,000, that a family farm is still a family farm.
On the AgWeek Livestock Tour at Goodhue, Minnesota, this is Jeff Beach for AgWeek.
The largest exhibit of sugar beet equipment and all things sugar related in the U.S. took place this week. Jeff Beach was at the International Sugarbeet Institute in Fargo, North Dakota, and has a special guest who knows the industry.
I'm here with Zach Clark from the American Sugarbeet Growers Association. He's with the group in Washington, D.C. Zach, there have been a lot of changes in Congress since the last time they worked on a farm bill. Explain to us kind of what that means.
Yeah, well, growers in this area know it well. Input costs are on the rise. The farm safety net has not really kept up. There's been a need for a lot of disaster assistance to the tune of $93 billion over 6 years. And so I think we've seen, the last farm bill was negotiated for a point in time that no longer exists. So we're looking at a farm bill that needs to evolve with the time.
And what about specific to sugar in the farm bill? What are you watching?
Well, for us, we need more. Margins are tight, so we're looking for an enhanced safety net, but first on an offensive side. And on a defensive side, our opponents do not like our program. They continually try to undermine it. We expect amendments to undermine our program, but we'll be ready to fight against those.
Now, outside of the Farm Bill, there are some issues with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. What do farmers need to be aware of there?
Yeah, so registrations, re-registrations of chemistries that we rely on come up on a regular basis. ASGA and our sister association, US Beet, do a lot of comments to make sure that those compounds get back to market so that growers can rely on them. But the EPA is facing a tidal wave of litigation, and so we're quite concerned in that space.
What about the timeline that the Farm Bill negotiations are under?
The House restarted its process when Republicans took control of the chamber, understandably so. The Senate, on the other hand, they started their process last Congress, and they've just been continuing on with it. And so I would argue that train is warmed up and is getting close to leaving the station. The chairman of the House Ag Committee, Mr. Thompson, has committed to getting it done this year. He said that anything less would be a failure in his eyes.
Thanks for joining me, Zach Clark from the ASGA.
Coming up on AgweekTV, North Dakota soybean growers are helping local first responders roll a little more safely.
The team at North Star Ag is committed to quality and committed to you. We're not just a full-service dealer, we're farmers too, so we know you need the best machinery and services that'll keep you going all season long. We have the largest equipment inventory in the upper Midwest with a well-equipped parts and service department. So whether you need machinery tomorrow or parts today, stop in and experience what North Star Ag can offer on our website at northstar-ag.com or give us a call at 701-361-4790.
Dig, lay, and bury drain tile all in one pass with the Crary Tile Pro Plow. The Crary Tile Pro Plow lays tile up to 7 feet deep with boot sizes of 4 to 12 inches. Advantages of installing drain tile to your field provides increased overall yield, improved soil moisture levels, and controls soil erosion. It pays to tile with a Crary Tile Pro. To locate a dealer near you, visit www.crarytilepro.com.
Spray Advantage is a full-line, full-service dealer with everything you need for fertilizer and chemical applications, like electronics from Microtrack and Raven, pumps by Banjo and John Blue, a full line of poly parts, tanks, and spray tips. We support the equipment we sell with factory-trained service technicians and a well-stocked parts department. It's our commitment to offer you quality products at competitive prices with the best financing options available. Spray Advantage, proudly serving North Dakota and Minnesota.
We farm up by Drayton, North Dakota. We farm about 2,500 acres, and I'm a fifth-generation farmer. It started out essentially as a vanity thing along the highway just to try and not make it look so bad when people drove by. The effects we had there, and talking with Jim and Darcy at ECO, we realized that it had options in different crops and different things, so we ended up using it now in sugar beets. We use it in beans, and this year we're going to try it in wheat. The first couple of years in those small spots, it was just generally we could see they were better, and it looked better, so that was what we went by. But now that we've been actually able to measure it in furrow and in some different plots in the sugar beets and beans, the rate of return has been anywhere from 1 or 2 to spots that's made a difference of probably 4 to 5 times on the rate of return, which is, exceptional. For us river guys there that deal with flooding issues along highways, but pretty much anywhere that has salt issues, which is, a lot of different acres up here and a lot of different crops too. So we've definitely had interest from other growers, and I think that there's probably an application on almost every farm.
The AgriWeather Outlook is sponsored by Excalia Fungicide from Valent USA.
It seems it's one step forward, 2 steps back for our spring weather. What's coming up in the next few weeks? Here's John with our AgriWeather Outlook.
Unfortunately, as the calendar finishes out the month of March and we turn into April, we're just going to extend the winter weather pattern, at least across the northern plains, the western Great Lakes. It is a cold weather pattern this year. Coldest probably in many areas since 2019. Not like we're setting records with it being cold, but it is being one of the colder springs in a while. And the pattern still looks fairly wet, although as we get toward the end of March and April, even with the cold relative to average temperatures, we'll start to see some more rain beginning to mix in with the snows in the northern areas, but it's still going to be turning to snow very likely, those systems. And all of this likely means that not only does winter get prolonged, but with a cold and wet pattern, especially areas with snow on the ground, we are almost certainly talking about things getting pushed back, and spring planting will be dicey in some areas, especially where we have to melt snow and then wait for some flooding season in places like North Dakota and northwest Minnesota. But the cool weather pattern is extending all the way down almost to the coast, with cool temperatures right now over Texas and sub-freezing weather in the northern plains and the Great Lakes. The frigid weather has retreated, so there is that to look forward to. All this is due to the jet stream. It meanders a bit, but it stays mostly to the south, and this has allowed cool weather to drop down over most of North America, even some cool temperatures from time to time into the northern parts of Florida. Cold, of course, by that we signify mostly sub-freezing, and for places like the northern Rockies, the northern plains, and the Great Lakes, except for an occasional day that gets up into the 30s to around 40, we'll keep a lot of these areas below freezing, not only this week, but next week as well. But interestingly enough, the south is going to start heating up by the end of the week and into the weekend, and so as we smash the 2 temperature regimes together, you get a more active storm track. So we do expect precipitation to be a little more predominant this week, but even into the early part of April, northern plains and Great Lakes area looking to remain fairly cold. There are some signs of ridging out west, so California may start to warm up a little toward the end of the period. But this coming week, precipitation will be heavy in the west coast. Mountain snows, of course, coastal rains, and that'll spread out into the northern plains with some snow. It's hard to tell in advance how heavy it will be. Rain on the southern flank of that. And I do expect some rain and thunder showers this weekend and again later in the week for Florida, which has been fairly dry this late winter, early spring so far. The second week of the pattern, the west coast still looking fairly wet with rain and snow. The snow belt still getting it. We're going to shift it a little further further east from the eastern Dakotas across the Great Lakes, and the rain's moving a little further north, but still, generally speaking, for most of the agricultural areas, a cold and a fairly wet next 2 weeks.
We farm up by Drayton, North Dakota. We farm about 2,500 acres, and I'm a fifth-generation farmer. It started out essentially as a vanity thing along the highway just to try and not make it look so bad when people drove by. The effects we had there, and talking with Jim and Darcy at ECO, we realized that it had options in different crops and different things, so we ended up using it now in sugar beets. We use it in beans, and this year we're going to try it in wheat. The first couple of years in those small spots, it was just generally we could see they were better and it looked better, so that was what we went by. But now that we've been actually able to measure it in furrow and in some different plots in the sugar beets and beans, the rate of return has been anywhere from 1 or 2 to spots that's made a difference of probably 4 to 5 times on the rate of return, which is, exceptional. For us river guys there that deal with flooding issues along highways, but pretty much anywhere that has salt issues, which is, a lot of different acres up here and a lot of different crops too. So we've definitely had interest from other growers, and I think that there's probably an application on almost every farm.
Built in North Dakota and delivered across the Midwest, every Pinky home is a custom home, designed for your family, built by ours. And with our on-site lumberyard and generations of experience, we can help build the home of your dreams without breaking your budget. Build something that lasts. Build with Pinky Homes. Get to know us and see all of your customization options at pinkyhomes.com.
Since the inception of Vaderstad, the spirit of innovation has led the company. We push the limits, providing innovative and reliable seeding and tillage solutions that simplify everyday life for farmers. We continue to reimagine the capabilities and technology behind farm machinery, providing customers with a perfect emergence while maximizing their yields. We look forward to growing together.
Don't miss out on the equipment you'll need next season. Titan Machinery, your local Case IH dealer, has early order discounts on its full line of powerful, efficient, new Case IH equipment, including tractors, combines, and self-propelled sprayers. Get a great deal and ensure that you have the latest in productivity and technology. Supply chains are tight. Contact your Titan Machinery dealership today and find out how much you can save by ordering ahead. Titan Machinery, your local Case IH equipment experts.
AgweekTV Soy Insight, brought to you by the North Dakota Soybean Council.
North Dakota soybean growers are helping first responders across the state by providing grants made tires out of soy. Rose Dunn has more on the advantages of these tires in this month's Soy Insight.
Sergeant Steve Loibel puts a lot of miles on his squad car, and for the last few months, he's been rolling on tires made with soy oil. The Barnes County Sheriff's Department is among the first agencies in North Dakota to be riding on soy-based tires, thanks to soy checkoff dollars. First responders like law enforcement, fire departments, and EMTs can request $1,000 grants from the North Dakota Soybean Council to buy the soy-based tires. The grant covered 2 sets of soy tires for the Sheriff's Department.
That's money we can use elsewhere for other safety equipment that we need.
In addition to saving these departments money, these tires may be doing something even more important, keeping crews safer on our snowy and icy roads.
Yeah, they seem to be better than what we have had. A lot of snow this year, been a lot of icy roads, tough travel conditions, but we've been lucky with them and been keeping on the roads and not getting stuck.
Goodyear started using soy oil in their tires in 2017. It makes the rubber more pliable, so it lasts longer.
From what my understanding is, it helps the longevity of the rubber as far as cracking and weather checking and things like that.
Rob Rose grows soybeans in Barnes County and is vice chair of the North Dakota Soybean Council.
It's a further way to add value to the soybean crop produced in North Dakota and nationwide, actually. Well, anything that we can do to add value here in the country versus exporting our soybeans overseas, I think is a really great deal.
In Valley City, North Dakota, this is Rose Dunn for AgWeek.
For more information on applying for a soy tire grant, visit ndsoybean.org or call 701-566-9300. Up next on AgWeek TV, an effort to make school lunches even healthier.
How'd they find me out here? Huh.
current resident. They don't even know who I am. Fifth downtown location. Why would I care?
Find a bank that cares about what you really need. Cornerstone Bank.
I'm Peter Bosch. I've been working with Gateway Building Systems for a little over 20 years now. I chose Gateway Building Systems to build my shop because I wanted a building that could both be used for my equipment and as a place for my family to hang out and do things. I would advise anybody that's thinking about working with Gateway to go in and talk to the guys there, tell them your plans and your future dreams, and let them design something for you.
Getting down to business on the farm means hitting the office early, making sure your team's ready to go, getting updates from the field, and talking with your management team. At Brimmer Bank, we understand the business of farming and how to protect and grow your operation, so you can be sure your present and your future are in good hands.
We at the Mosaic Company hang our hat on the fact that we are crop nutrition leaders. That's why we have produced products like Micro Essentials, Aspire, Sostera, which help that plant utilize certain key nutrients differently than what just straight commodity products do. And we want to increase that yield, but we also want to increase the ROI. Because ultimately our goal is to help the farmer have a better yield, a better ROI, and do it in a sustainable way.
There's no easy button, no guarantees, or promises of a good year. This is farming. It's unpredictable and demanding, with long days and sometimes stressful nights. It's weathering the storms and coming out successful. Farming isn't for everyone. We thank those who make it their life, because it is for everyone.
The Department of Agriculture wants to make school breakfasts and lunch even healthier. The agency has unveiled new proposed guidelines to reduce both sugar and sodium in food served in school cafeterias. The changes would happen gradually over time. By next school year, schools would start phasing out refined grains in favor of whole grains. By 2025, sugar in sweetened yogurts, muffins, cereals, and chocolate milk would be reduced, and sodium cut by 10%. Sugar and sodium would be reduced further in subsequent years.
They already offer incredibly healthy meals aligned with the dietary guidelines. But under federal law, we're supposed to keep those updated to the latest dietary guidelines. So that's what we're seeking to do here, make some very modest changes to the program to just keep it modern and up to date with the latest nutrition science.
The USDA also plans to invest $100 million to help cafeterias update their kitchens. Many schools still have limited kitchen capacity left over from 1980, when more prepackaged processed foods were used. Stories you'll only see on AgWeek.com and AgWeek magazine this week. Some new vehicles are dropping AM radio, and that could be bad for farmers and people in rural areas. And a South Dakota company is delivering fruit across 16 states. We appreciate you watching AgWeek TV. Remember to check us out daily on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to keep up on all your ag news. Have a wonderful week.